schedule. I think it'll be a marathon. I think Thanksgiving he went something like 6 hours or so. Tone, if you can get the exact times, let us know, and then keep us posted when our good friend Mike Gill pops up. The Sports Bash, ESPN Radio. Mike will join us here and talk a little Eagles Cowboys. Hour 2, we'll go around the league. We'll do the NFL Pick'em. I do the NFL Pick'em in hour 2. We'll go real deep dive on all the games. And I forgot to give you a Thursday night football prediction last night, so I posted it up on Twitter. We took the Jaguars with the points. So 125 wins, 98 losses against the spread, folks. We're not just picking winners. That's what the point spread. We picked every single game. We'll be handicapping like a maniac in the next hour of power. But first, we got to put a cap on the first hour. And who better to do that with a good friend of the show, Mike Gill. Always a pleasure to have him here. Of course, ESPN Radio in studio, 97.3, the Sports Bash. Buckle up, Mike. Good morning. How are you?
Man, it's my last show of the year for me down here. So, I'm buckled up, chin strap on, eye black, ready to go.
I know the Gardner Minshew Mania show is ready to go. And I got to ask, like, in a weird kind of way, granted, pending this isn't as serious as we're making it out to be with the Jalen Hurts injury, but Dallas, it sounds like, is going to have the 5 seed. They're going to most likely play the 4 seed, which looks like the Bucks, which is a very beatable game, winnable matchup. It could very well be Eagles Cowboys round 3 come January. Is this a blessing in disguise that we're not unveiling the Jalen Hurts offense here?
There's so many different ways, Rick, you can kind of look at this. If Dallas really, okay, if they think they have a shot to win 3 and the Eagles to lose 3, what about Dallas saying, you know what, we don't want to show you anything in this game? There's that possibility. That's not going to happen. Philadelphia, obviously, could Hurts have played this game if it was more meaningful? Maybe, maybe not. That we'll never know. It's not more meaningful. Why? Because Dallas is simply not good enough. The Philadelphia Eagles, Rick, are a better team. Like, nobody's confidence has changed because Gardner Minshew is playing. The Eagles are a better team than Dallas. Whether they win this game or not on Saturday, they're just a better football team with Gardner Minshew. The Cowboys will say back in week 6, oh, maybe we should play Cooper Rush. Maybe he's a better guy, until he lost. And then it was, oh, we lost because you played our backup. Well, the 3 weeks leading up to that, you kept telling us that your backup was actually better until you lost. Now, you don't hear any Eagles fans saying, oh, well, we got to play with Gardner Minshew. No, the Eagles are a better team than Dallas is with Gardner Minshew. They're just flat out a better 53. Don't forget this, too. Tampa Bay and Dallas have played. That didn't go so well for Dallas. They scored 3 points in that game. 3. They play again in Tampa. We're going to see a similar picture. I know Tampa's really struggled this year, but they did play already, and they didn't look good, Tampa. It was 19-3. Their offense wasn't all that good, but their defense is still pretty solid. So keep that in mind. It's not a fait accompli that Dallas and Philly meet again. Very likely, though.
No, I could see it coming. And Dominique Miller in the chat room says, both the Cowbums and the Jets lost to the Jaguars. We saw that last night. We saw it last week where the Cowboys allowed over 500 yards. And then you got Shady McCoy coming out and calling Dak Prescott ass because – he's got 2 interceptions. One was a tapped pass. Another one, his arm got hit. And even Tony Dungy had to come out to the Twitterverse and defend Dak Prescott and say, hey, really? The defense allowed 500 yards and it's Dak's fault? But two-edged sword question here. How about those Dougie P. Jaguars? They got a little up-and-coming program. And, yeah, that Dallas defense, suddenly there's leakage all over the place.
Yeah, listen, on the Jags real fast. It shows you what coaching in the NFL means and how much more prepared that team is. That being said, when the Eagles beat them, no one seemed to care, right? Oh, you beat the Jaguars. Who cares? Now the Jaguars beat Dallas, and the Dallas fans out there, well, the Jags are the hottest team in football. There is no hottest team in football. Dallas beats Minnesota 40-3. 2 weeks later, they can't get out of their own way. There is no hottest team. It's are you good or are you not? 13-1, that's good. 7-7, you're average. Some weeks you're good, some weeks you're not. Jacksonville's not even 7-7 at this point. Now, Detroit, Jacksonville, they're all playing much better football. There's no question from where they were. But the sample size is what it is. They're 6-8. Detroit's 7-7. Philadelphia's 13-1. Dallas is 10-4. So what's the story here? Talk about Dak Prescott. Dak's really good. All right. I am no Dak hater. You're not going to get me to sit here and rip Dak Prescott. He's not ass. He's pretty darn good. Here's the problem. He's good in moments, and he's bad in moments. His consistency is his issue. He shows flashes where he can lead a team. He puts up astronomical numbers. Yes, the defense gave up big yards in that play. They have the ball with a minute left in that game. Close the game out. They can't get it done. It's a combination of Dallas where the quarterback sometimes makes a mistake. The defense, which is overhyped and overrated, can't get a stop. They can't get off the field. We saw that in the Philly game. That's not Cooper Rush. That's their defense had multiple chances on third down to get off the field in week 6, and they could not do it. It's also another problem that this team has had for years. Their coaching is every week they are on the lower side of the stick in coaching. They get out coached and out prepped. Now, it hasn't happened as much this year. I think their coaching staff has done a much better job with this team. But in inopportune times, Green Bay, Jacksonville, their coaching has let them down. And that to me is a big difference. When you have that side of the ball, when you have, we have offense, defense, special teams, don't forget the coaching check mark. And Dallas generally loses the coaching check mark every game.
I believe Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat. Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, we were all ready to anoint them the next hot coaching candidates in the beginning of the season. They could very well be on the hot seat. But, you took me down an interesting road that I didn't anticipate here, Mike. But since you brought up Dak Prescott, I want to pick your brain about it because a lot of things here come to my mind. In a way, they're very similar. They're both overachievers. We forget Dak was a 4th-round pick, never mind a 2nd-round pick, and he has exceeded expectations by far. Now, when Mike McCarthy goes and doubles down and says, the reason why we've been better over the Eagles the last several years is the quarterback efficiency, and he pointed to Dak Prescott's 26-6 record in the NFC East. But in some ways, I feel like these guys are so much more different as well because, like you always hear Jalen say, block out the noise. And he doesn't really pay much attention to what's going on outside the facility, right? I get a different impression. Like I watched the Dak Prescott media scrum this week. This guy was so nervous. He was so anxious, Mike. People are questioning this man's ability to the point where, and I get what Dak Prescott has gone through off the field in his personal life. I'm very sure he's a mentally tough person in his personal life. But when you have to stand up there to the media and declare, like, guys, not for nothing, he had to cut off the media member and say, not for nothing, not to brag on myself, but I'm pretty mentally tough. Like, to me, it's like you're paying too much attention to what the outside noise, what the narrative outside the building is. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, it doesn't help, Rick, that your owner goes on the radio down there every week and then, picks apart or gets asked questions. And, hey, do you have the quarterback? What do you think of the quarterback play? Oh, the quarterback play was outstanding. Well, it doesn't help that every week that the owner of the team is giving a expository on what he just saw the day before. And I think that draws to these players sometimes to be like, this guy's on the radio talking about like this, that, and the other thing. That team, look, Dak Prescott, again, this team, I do a thing called Find Five, Ugly Five. I am no Dallas hater by any stretch. I had him at number 2 in my Find Five 2 weeks ago. Well, then they played a terrible game against Houston, and then they lost to Jacksonville. Not exactly showing me that I was right about putting them in the number 2 spot. So I am no hater. Dak Prescott's 1-3 in playoff games. In big games, meaningful games, they're the games where you ask, is he mentally strong enough when things are tough to get through that game, to win and carry that team. Look, the defense is giving you problems the last game. It's on me to make sure we get that first down. Can we get that first down? Now, this goes a little hand in hand with the play calling. They ran the ball twice, then they throw a ball on third down with a minute left. They take a shot where they run outs down the field. Who the hell called that play? I mean, come on. Make the quarterback throw a simple little short dump off, get tackled, make Jacksonville call timeout, and that game's probably over. But that's a combination of, do they have confidence in the quarterback to make that call on first or second down? Do they have confidence in that in the quarterback to have him take a little shorter shot on third down and make something happen? Obviously not. So I think it's just a combination of, from the top, Jerry Jones down, that team has. Look, we looked at it yesterday on my show. They have 4 playoff wins, 4 since 1998. That's horrible. Horrible. And the fact that people still prop this organization up like they matter, that's even worse. They don't matter. They haven't mattered in 30. I do a show with a guy who's in his 30s. He said, Mike, I've never seen a good Cowboys team. I don't know what the hype is about this Cowboys thing that everybody talks about. And I said, yeah, when I was in, you ready? When I was in high school, they were really good. I'm 45 years old now. My high school days are way behind me. And I think the Cowboys need to start treating their franchise like that. This Cowboys thing, it is over. It is done. And it hasn't been around for 30 years. They've been a joke. They have been one excuse after another. One guy, excuse after another. It is over. And it hasn't been around for 30 years, Rick. 30.
Yeah, I know. Just another sad reminder for all of us, our 90 childs here. The 90s were 30 years ago. We're talking to Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey, the Sports Bash, here on the Football Playbook, Football Friday affair with you here. You know, one more quarterback question, Mike. I hate to make it about this since we have to wait for the heavyweight championship belt intercontinental matchup between Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts, but it's funny, you know, in the middle of the night when I can't sleep, it's funny the things I think about, because here I am watching Jalen Hurts and I'm saying, man, this guy's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And then I talk to people that I are very well respected around the game, in the game, and they tell me the same thing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have Mike Gill on my show today. He's the people's champion. He's got the pulse of the Eagles. He's a Eagles historian. I respect his football mind. Like, there's still people out here telling me Jalen Hurts is a product of the system, or he's not a franchise quarterback, or he doesn't deserve a long-term deal. Where does Mike Gill view Jalen Hurts on the NFL starting quarterback caliber? Is he a franchise top 5? Is he a top 10? Has he done enough to put him past the middle of the road in terms of NFL starters around the league, in Mike Gill's opinion?
Yeah, I mean, look, we were talking about this the other day. If Jalen Hurts comes back next year, what are you asking him to improve on? What does he need to get better at? Right? And if you're searching for something, it tells you this guy is taking a lot of steps. Now, it is not unfound to say you got A.J. Brown. That's a big help. Absolutely. But look around the league. Every good quarterback is generally tied to a receiver that helps them out. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Take Devontae Adams out. Now Aaron Rodgers looks somewhat pedestrian. You put Tom Brady. He was really good, okay? He never had big weapons. But then you gave him Randy Moss, and he was unbelievable. Brady went from great to immortal because you gave him Randy Moss. Of course, every quarterback is helped out by the situation they're in. Here's the difference. You still have to be able to make the throw. You still have to be able to make the decision, read the defense, take what the defense gives you. And that's where Jalen Hurts has made huge strides. He makes the right decision almost every single time. I mean, that is a skill in itself that is undervalued, of how efficient he is in making the right decision. And then look, we had people that call it all the time. Well, he can't throw the deep ball. He can't throw downfield. Well, he's number 1 in the league in downfield passing. When they throw the ball down the field, that's when they're at their best. I mean, you can make an argument this week with Gardner Minshew. He's going to throw the ball underneath slants, and they might actually look better because that'll be more efficient, right? They'll be able to catch the ball and take off after. And you might say, wow, look at these slants and look at these little digs and cuts. Why don't they do that more? Well, because they have the best downfield passer in the league. For me, Jalen Hurts has answered a lot of questions, and a lot of it comes with two things: his decision-making, right? Making the right play all the time. And look, I don't know how he did it, but he has improved his accuracy and arm strength. That is something that generally does not get fixed. But Josh Allen was not a good thrower of the football, very inaccurate. Well, you give him Stephon Diggs, and voila, all of a sudden, he's much better. Why? Because Stephon Diggs helps you out. They make catches that you generally – look, some of the passes that Jalen Hurts throws last year, he doesn't have anybody going up winning those 50-50 balls. He doesn't have anybody going to win those battles for him. Now he does. So I look at Hurts right now. He's a top 5 quarterback in this league, if not more, right? I don't know that the consistency's there yet. Will he do it again next year? Now I have a whole year of tape. But why would it change? He's got the playmakers. He's got Dallas Goedert probably. And here's another thing. Clay Harbor was on my show and brought this up. The mark of a good quarterback. He said, well, you took his best, one of his, Dallas Goedert, top 5 tight end in this league. Would we agree on that?
Yep.
You took a top 5 player at his position off the field for 4 weeks. For 3 of those weeks, they averaged over 40 points a game. What quarterbacks losing a top 5 player and the team actually excels? Not many. Jalen Hurts was able to do that.
Didn't skip a beat. I tend to agree with you. Mike Gill here, Ric Serritella, Jersey Shore Brethren, broadcasting live around the universe. Of course, 97.3, 2 to 6 p.m. Buckle up. It's a double chin strap affair. We'll get into what Mike's got cooking later on in the day. You said some interesting things about the wide receiver number ones. I'm curious then, did you just state the case from Patrick Mahomes to seal the deal on the MVP? Because he just lost Tyreek Hill and they didn't skip a beat.
I got no problem with that. And I think that's the argument for him. If Hurts had played the whole season without getting hurt here, and probably won't play the last 3 games, I would imagine, is that Mahomes was able to elevate. Very few guys can elevate. He's one of them, where you took the best player off the field and still were able to win. Here's my thing. That's why I don't think Kansas City is the favorite in the AFC. They have the best quarterback, but their 53 is probably the weakest of the Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City contingent. They don't run the ball all that well. They don't really have a downfield threat. It's really Mahomes making plays, man, with Kelsey. Is that gonna hold? If they don't get that number 1 seed, they're gonna have to win like that 3 straight weeks against good football teams. That could be a tough ask. But I have no problem saying that. Like, for me, Mahomes has the weakest roster and has done the most with less.
No, it's amazing when you think about it. Juju Smith-Schuster, Marcus Valdez-Scantling. I mean, it's
Moore. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but then I look at the Buffalo. Like Gabriel Davis hasn't quite lived up to expectations. They just pulled Cole Beasley out of retirement. That backfield is nothing to brag about. And then I look at the Bengals roster and I say, man, here's a team that knows what it takes to get there. Really no real weaknesses. I know Joe Mixon's a little banged up. They're kind of getting hot at the right time. Suddenly, they're up there at like the number 3 seed. Like, don't blink an eye. They could wind up with the number 1 seed. To me, I had the Eagles and Bengals, believe it or not, all the way back in August in the big dance. I'm not deviating from that.
My NFL Find 5 right now, the Bengals are number 3. I have them as the best AFC team. I think the Bengals are the best AFC team. Why? They have the track record right now. I know Kansas City has won a Super Bowl, but they had Tyreek Hill. They don't have that player anymore. Buffalo, I think Buffalo does not run the ball very well. Losing Von Miller, I think, really hurts them. Was he great? No. But just like last year, was he great? No. But when you needed him, like almost like Brandon Graham to the Eagles, if you need a big play, you know that he has that track record to get it done. Who on Buffalo gets a stop for them in a key moment? And that doesn't – the game can be 40 to 33. You need someone to get a stop in the key moment. I don't know that Buffalo has that guy right now. To me, Cincinnati's the most complete team of those three teams on the AFC side, and they've done it most recently. We forget this team was in the Super Bowl. They got off to a rocky start. They're 10-4 now. Look, they've got past that rocky start. They upgraded the offensive line. I think that line took a little bit of time to get themselves together. They've improved as the season goes on. They can run the ball, and their quarterback's unflappable. And, oh, by the way, he's got 3 targets that are out of this world, and one of them went to Pitt, which I can't stand, and I'm even giving them credit. So I think Cincinnati is the best team in the AFC, the most complete team. They are, I think, the best 53.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm curious about, your top 5. Let's put a wrap on the Eagles and Cowboys conversation. I mentioned last segment, I think Vegas is miscalculating the situation. This opened up. Dallas was favored to begin with by like a point or two. I think it's up to 5 or 6. I think they're vastly underestimating the Fu Manchu. How about you?
Oh, I agree. I was on the air when this all happened on Monday, and the line was at 1, 1.5, 3, 6. Yesterday when I was on, it was 4.5. I haven't looked at it where it is today. Quite frankly, I think the Eagles take care of business. As I said, the Eagles with Gardner Minshew are still a better team than Dallas is. They're better. Their 53 is better than Dallas. They're deeper than Dallas. Gardner Minshew, this is a fine. He can 41 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I mean, this isn't some joker coming in there. This guy has won games. He can deliver the football. In fact, you might think that aesthetically this offense might be more pleasing in throwing the football. Obviously, you take Gardner out. I think that's going to be interesting to see what happens with Micah Parsons. Last time they used him like a fiddle. They played him up and down the field because Hurts read him. They saw where he was. They went right after him, and then Hurts makes the right decision almost every single time. That play is kind of out now with Minshew in there. But guess what? They'll look where Parsons is. They see Parsons lined up on the line. They'll throw a slant to A.J. Brown or hit you in the seam to Dallas Goedert now that he's back. They see him lined up at the linebacker spot like last time. I mean, it's pick your poison, and Minshew is very capable to get this done.
I agree. By the way, did you see the bird flus running around that Cowboys roster? Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs popped up on the injury report with the bird flu illness.
Hey, listen, the best thing that happens is that Dallas wins the game, and the excuses of why they're the best team in football all keep coming back, and they start acting like that team's good. 30 years later, the excuses are never going to run out. You still are the Cowboys. And guess what? That's not a good thing.
And I should clarify, ESPN.com, not exactly, 97.3 just affiliate, but the index power rankings, ESPN will still be doing their clickbait thing and putting the Cowboys up there on top of the mantle, which is where I wanted to go with you next, because I saw my guy in the chat room. I mean, great minds think alike. New time, Ricky Beavers. I don't see you too often. Welcome to the show. But he was kind of reading my mind, Mike, which is where I wanted to go with you next. This stage of the season, what are we, week 16? I think we know who the real contenders and pretenders are. And to me, in the NFC, it's the Eagles and 49ers. In the AFC, it's the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals. I'm not there with Dallas being in that upper tier echelon of teams. Am I leaving anybody out of the dance? Is there somebody else in that top 5 equation that can bust through on the other side?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I like Dallas probably a little bit more than you do. Just says, look, Dallas can win. The problem for me, and I've said this all along, if Dallas gets the 5 seed, which they are now, for them to win 3 straight games, play consistent football against good teams, their defense is just all season long. I like their defense in pass rush. I don't like their defense against the run. Well, now I like their defense in pass rush less than I did 4 weeks ago. I mean, they got injuries back there. They just don't have the depth. And to me, can they win 3 straight games on the road? Probably not. So that probably takes them out of being a legit contender. But who's last year's Bengals? I don't know that they exist. I would say this. I'm not a
Bengals.
Well, I'm not a Vikings guy, but I guess everybody is doubting the Vikings, so maybe they could be the team. But what if Detroit got in?
Well, you know what? Let me ask you about that because there's three big impact games in the NFC this week. Detroit at Carolina, surprisingly being one of them. Carolina has a shot too, but I mean, Detroit in the NFC, they are right now probably like the Bengals version in the NFC in terms of being the hottest team. Can Detroit kind of rally right into the playoffs? And I'll tie in the Giants and Commanders both on the road this week. They're all in a dogfight for that final playoff spot. The Commanders going cross country to the Niners, the Giants going up to the Vikings. How do you see these three matchups?
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, those could be the playoff matchups. I mean, right now, if the playoffs were to happen, I think it would be Giants. The Giants are 6. They would play San Francisco, and Washington is 7. They would play Minnesota. So it would be flip-flopped. But, I mean, conceivably, depending on what happens, they could be playoff matchups in a couple of weeks. Look, to me, the Giants pulled out a huge win that I just did not see coming last week. I thought Washington, and I think we talked about, I think you liked the Giants. I said, no way, man. Washington was set up perfectly in that game. That's an awful loss for them in that game. But I don't think the Giants, like Minnesota's been doubted so much this year. Then they're down 33-0, and they come back in that game. I think they take care of business this week against the Giants. San Francisco, that defense is just outrageous, man. They are all over the place. I think Tyler Heineke has a tough day at the office. I like San Francisco there. And then that would really put a damper on Washington's playoff hopes. The Giants with 8 wins and the 5 losses in that tie keeps them in the mix. But I think Detroit beats Carolina, and then that gets them over the hump past Washington. But keep in mind, if Carolina wins that game, they are still in the South race. All 4 teams are one game apart in the South. Tampa leads. The other 3 teams all have 5 wins. Tampa has 6. So that division, every game this weekend that involves a South team has a lot of meaning. Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. It really is. And Mike, I love talking football with you so much. One last thing, a good note, what you just mentioned, like Detroit's the hottest team in football. They could wind up getting in the dance. And if San Fran seals that number 2 seed, they're going to have to face a feisty Detroit Lions game.
Yeah,
but
no. If Detroit gets in and they're the 7 seed, they would play Minnesota.
Well, not if the 49ers have the 2 seed, though, right?
Oh, if Minnesota, well, they would have to jump Minnesota still.
Which they have a shot to do.
They have a shot to do it, but Minnesota, I think they're a game up. They play the Giants this week. I think they'll win that game. And then I know they play
Minnesota. Well, if the Giants win over Minnesota and the 49ers win over the Commanders, then the Niners and the Vikings will both be 11-4 with 2 to play.
So if Minnesota, I thought Minnesota was a game up on San Francisco, no?
I have the Vikings here at 11-3. I got the 49ers at 10-4. I don't know. I don't remember them playing head-to-head, so I don't know who holds the tiebreaker there. But I think if
Minnesota's up 1 game, the conference record, San Francisco owns that tiebreaker. I do not think they played against each other. So if they finish with the same record, San Francisco gets that tiebreaker. But I think Minnesota wins this week. That's where they'll hold them off for another week. And then I think they play the Bears coming up down the road here. But listen, either way, Detroit's a team that I'm sure you probably don't want to play. Although Detroit has not played a very difficult schedule to get to this point, much like Philadelphia last year. Philadelphia was a hot team that got to the playoffs. They had won like 5 or 6 in a row. And then they got to the playoffs and played some real big boys. And, they played Tampa and got shown the door. Maybe Detroit's more down that road. But I think Detroit's actually pretty solid. They here's a big thing, and this is for a lot of the Eagle fans out there. Detroit was one of the teams that blitzed the most in football. They fired the defensive backs coach. They scaled back. They do not blitz nearly as much anymore. And voila, they're playing much better defense. I have the blitz numbers I look at. The teams that blitz the most, the 4 teams that blitz the most, none of them are any good. So sometimes these Eagle fans who want John Gannon, blitz, the teams that blitz the most are generally the teams that aren't very good.
One last one, I'll tell you. I hit you. Aiden Hutchinson, 7 sacks, leads all rookies. And then this kid, James Houston, right, out of the HBCU. Nobody wanted to draft him because he was too small. They said he couldn't survive as an edge rusher. Don't look now. He's about to become, with the sack this week, he'll become the first player in NFL history with a sack in his first 5 NFL games. This would be a huge accomplishment for the Detroit Lions team to get into the playoffs, much like it was for this Philadelphia Eagles organization a year ago. Listen, Mike, I could keep you here all day. Let me talk to you about the Christmas plans. What's going on in the Gill household? Are you staying local? Will you be traveling? Will you be hunkered down and bunkered up for this weather, this cyclone bomb? What's happening over there?
Yes, I am staying local this year. My girlfriend's parents, they are from outside of Syracuse. They are already here, so we're all
The
doing.
ones with the butter on the counter.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And they are here, and we're. I actually am at the studio early today because on Christmas Day, I do the state of the teams. So I'll do the state of the Phillies, Flyers, Eagles, Sixers. That'll run from 10 to noon, right up to the Sixers game on Christmas Day. So I just started recording all of those segments for the state of the Philly teams. I do it every year on Christmas. So that'll air on Christmas Day. And then I'm off all next week. I'm off until January 3rd. So I'm just, going to the doctor, getting the car inspected, doing all the things,
No, I don't know. I don't have that Hollywood lifestyle just yet. I'm trying to get there though, but that's the perks that, when you're broadcaster of the year, that's kind of the perks you get, I guess.
What, going to the doctor and getting my car inspected? You those are perks you want? You can have them.
Well, just to have the time to be able to do it, yes.
Well, yeah. I have a lot of vacation time built up here, so taking the last week off. But yeah, today's the last show on the radio for me.
I jest. How long have you been doing the state of the Philadelphia teams, by the way?
Oh, probably 10 years that we do it. We usually air it on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. But New Year's Day this year, the Eagles play, so we won't air it New Year's Day. We'll have the state of the teams that will run on Christmas Day this year. And, that's it. We've been doing it probably 10 years, though.
No, that's cool. By the way, I'm sure you have another obligation to be, but New Year's Day, January 1st, the Football Playbook is actually doing the tailgate takeover down at the Link, parking lot G. We got free tomato pies, cheesesteaks, beer. You just got to pull up, show up. If come on, come all type of thing. If you got nothing else to do New Year's Day.
How about that? All right, New Year's Day. Now that's going to be interesting. How are they going to handle that with the mummers and the game going on? Philly New Year's Day is a big deal up there.
Yeah, from my understanding, we had Gail Saunders on from 4th and John, and so they do this thing every Eagles game, not just home, but also away. So these are like people that come from all over the world and congregate. So the Football Playbook show, we're kind of piggybacking off of the event in a way, but it's all sponsored. I mean, tomato pie, cheesesteaks, beer. What else you want out of life on New Year's Day?
See, I want to have your life now.
Hey, it only took 365 days for the kid to get outside the house, Mike. So buckle up. Hopefully we can see you down there. We'll chat more off the air. And what do you got cooking today on 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey?
Well, our man Johnny Mack from Birds 365, he'll be on at 3 o'clock today. Adam Kaplan gives us football at 4, and then Sal Powell tonight at 5:30 for the last hit into Eagles Cowboys. And we'll be doing a lot of Eagles Cowboys stuff today, getting you ready for the game. My last show, so I'll have a lot of energy. Looking back at
the year, man. Double chin strap affair. Tell my guy Johnny Mack I said what's up, and always appreciate the time, brother.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to you guys, and we'll talk to you in the new year, man.
Merry Christmas, Mike. The one, the only, Mike Gill. Love talking football. I mean, time flies. Got to appreciate him going overtime again here on the Football Playbook. Man, buckle up. We're an hour of power down, an hour of power to go. Going to take one more break today. The last segment, we're going to go a little bit elongated because there's so many games to get to on this NFL week number 16. We'll have the NFL pick'em. We'll get into any questions that you guys have for this Cowboys-Eagles. We'll finally make the RIC Eagles prediction for this week. And it's all brought to you by the Ocean Casino Resorts. Smash that like button. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right